Good morning and happy April 2nd. It is officially spring and I couldn't be more excited. Spring is my season. I love it. It makes me excited about the flowers and the garden and the summer that's coming. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. And the days are longer. It's warmer. I'm just in a happy mood today. And I would love to take the opportunity to show you what's going on in my early April garden. I'm in Northern California in Zone 9B, Sunset Zone 9. We live in mild winters and hot, dry summers, sort of a Mediterranean climate on steroids. It can be really hot, triple digit heat, but rarely does it get much colder. We just get a few days of frost. And so our unique climate means that our plants have a really long growing season. A lot of my annuals overwinter where they wouldn't somewhere else. And so I thought it'd be fun for us to go and look and see what's blooming and what's coming. One of the things I have been trying to think about and work on is four-season interest. I know I am a sucker for spring plants, but having something to look at year-round is important. And so I've started to work in more structure into my garden. A lot of times you can get, beautiful color and things that maybe are structurally beautiful through texture all year round, winter, things like that. So I've been starting to work on that. And it's hard for me, I have to say, because I like pretty flowers. That's what I like in my garden. So having things that aren't pretty flowers feels a little tough for me. But I really got to see how they worked this winter when everything else was sleeping or done for the year and I had pulled out my annuals. And I really liked having something to look at. So I thought I'd share how those are doing and how those are looking as well. So I love the idea of garden tours on a monthly basis. I learned this from Janie, who has Dig, Plant, Water, Repeat, because she does every month she does a garden tour. And I love that because you can go back and look at how things have grown, because you forget, right? You're like, oh wow, that plant is so much bigger. When they grow right in front of you, you don't always see the progress. And also I'm a big believer in the old adage, first year they sleep, second year they creep, third year they leap. And I've certainly found that to be true. And I am impatient and I often don't give my plants that time. So when I planted my garden last year and I did a big renovation, which I have videos on, and I put in a bunch of new stuff, I really told myself, be patient, don't overfill your beds because these will get bigger. And I'm going to show you exactly where that has come to be true. And I'm so glad that I left space around some of these plants, because even in just the second year, they're gotten much bigger than I thought. So I'm going to turn the camera around and I'm going to walk you through a quick garden tour on what's going on in my garden. So one of the first things, and I don't know if it shows up on the camera, but do you see all those bugs flying? Can you see them all in here? Does the light catch them on the camera? I don't know. I have a whitefly infestation, and it started happening last year. 2 years ago, I brought home a plant that had whiteflies, and they have completely infested my garden, and there's really nothing to do. Every spring now for the past couple of years, this is what happens when the days get warm. So we're having 70, 75 degree days right now, and down into the 40s at night. It's the perfect whitefly temperature, I guess, because they're all coming out like crazy and swarming. They cover all the surface of my pool, so I love to see them that they're dead, but they are swarming. Now last year they did disappear and they didn't really stick around too bad. I was able to squirt them off with a blast of water. But if you have them, you'll see these little white dots there. I don't know if you can see, because they kind of fly away when I point to them, but you can see they'll start, and they actually like to be on the underside of the leaves. So what I've been doing is coming by with a hose and squirting off all my plants. See, there's a bunch on this one, if you can see them all. So I'll just squirt them off, drown them. You can use insecticidal soap, but honestly, see, there's a bunch on this leaf. That's just like dish soap. So I don't really see the point in doing that. It's not really all that effective. Water works just as well. So why use chemicals if you don't have to, right? And they tend to like some plants more than others. So they like these hydrangeas. These are Fort Bragg hydrangeas, these beautiful purple lace cap blooms. So those have just popped out of dormancy and they're looking nice and healthy. Also in this behind the pool bed, I have Mutabilis rose. I moved this rose last year, and it's just sort of rebounding. I struggled with water last year. I converted everything to drip, and that I wasn't as on top of it as I should have been. And I lost a lot of things, unfortunately, and these suffered, but I've got them dialed in and they are really doing well. These roses are a fantastic addition to your garden. They are just stunning. I love them so much. They are called butterfly bush or butterfly flower rose. Mutabilis is the name of them. They actually come out a dark pink, and then they progressively get a little bit lighter, and they continuously bloom year round. Well, I don't know about year round, but during their blooming period. And so at any given time, you have 4 different colors of roses on your bush. I love that so much. And they are prolific bloomers, and they get to be about 6 feet. I have 3 planted in this bed back here. So they're just, I had, cut them down to little nubs. So they're just rebounding now and doing better, but they are prolific. And they do really well. They are pretty drought tolerant, though they do need some water. And they will just bloom continuously. And then I just hard prune them back every January or so. And they come back like gangbusters the next day. So I would highly recommend this rose. Also in this bed, I've got African daisies, osteospermum. I had a few die last year, so I planted a few more in here to fill in. African daisies just are the workhorse of the Northern California garden. They just do so well. They bloom. They come in so many beautiful colors. I would highly recommend them. I also have an angel's trumpet. I left this one in the ground over winter. I have a few in the greenhouse I'll show you. It's coming back beautiful as ever. It doesn't get a lot of sun back here, so we'll see how it blooms. This is its 2nd year here, so we'll see how it does. And then I have another Fort Bragg hydrangea in the pot. And then I have my little building bed here where I've got some foxglove, some catmint. These were a bulb that I planted that I can't remember what they are, but I think they're allium, but they didn't bloom. So it was the first year. Maybe I planted them too late. But my 2nd year foxgloves are just starting to pop. They should be beautiful here. I have some hollyhocks in pots here that I need to get into the ground. I was thinking I put them back here. And I have a rose of Sharon Pillar White, who just broke dormancy, is looking beautiful. Those should get tall and like a column, so tall and skinny. So it should fill up this fence, probably up to the top of the fence, a nice white column here. And I have that paired with kangaroo paw. I have 3 in this bed, and they have just done great. One died because I had some struggles with water. So you'll see that 3rd one on the end is a little bit smaller than the other one. I just planted that last week. And then new, I have Peter Cottontail yarrow planted, 3 of them, and those are white, and they will get nice and bushy and fill in there. And I have a giant weed. See, now's the perfect time to pull weeds, though the ground is nice and soft. I have my Atlas roses. I have 5 of those planted in this bed. So it's just starting to bloom now. You can see I've got tons of buds happening here. These poor plants, I must have moved them, I think this is their 4th home. So they're finally in a place where they'll stay and they can settle in and grow and grow. I've got my lamb's ear, which is so, they're little baby leaves. When I planted them, the leaves were much bigger. And now with all this new fresh growth, I trimmed them back hard and they fleshed out and they look beautiful. And I'm hoping they just get those nice big leaves on them again, which is what I, bought them for. Along with my snow and summer, which I have in another part of my garden and it's totally blooming. So I will share that with you. My echinacea, my coneflower, just starting to pop out here. You can see I've got just a couple buds here. Got another one over here with the backdrop of salvia. I've got this pretty fuchsia salvia in the back. Nice purple. The purple with the peach of the Atlas should be beautiful. And then I have a white ground cover rose here. And then I've got some verbena that is just starting to give me some pretty purple. Now, remember when I said things get out of control and get huge and to leave space? This is the perfect example of that. This is a Isla de la Mina verbena, and it started out in a little half-gallon pot, 6 inches or so, and look at it now. The butterflies absolutely adore this plant. They are here sipping all day long. It's just such a beautiful plant, and it's giant, look at the size of this guy. So it's really filled in. It's probably at its peak now. I don't expect it to get too much bigger. I could do some light pruning after this flesh is spent, but the way that these verbena bloom is they just keep growing from the tips. So if you prune this back, you would lose all the ongoing. And look, there's a happy bumblebee right there. You see him? This is a pollinator magnet. They love it. And so if I were to prune this back, I would lose that successive flush of blooms that keeps happening. So a good time to prune it if it's too big in your yard is to do it usually in more of a dormancy, though it bloomed all winter long, just lightly. So if I were to do it, I would do it maybe midwinter. And then I've got some Shasta daisy that's just starting to come up here. I've got more of the salvia in the backdrop. That one is really going for it. Look at that. It gets the most sun out of the 5 that I have planted. Aren't those pretty? And even the, the little holders, I think they call them the carex, they're a pretty magenta color, just pretty. And then I have a nice wallflower here that I bought because I'm a sucker for the color. I also have a crazy amount of yarrow that I need to pull out. I planted 1 yarrow here and now I have this. It reproduces by sending runners everywhere, and it's just going to take over this bed, which I don't want. So after, I have some here too. So after it blooms, which it should bloom here pretty soon, I think I'll pull out some of this stuff and rein it in just a little bit. And now here's one of the examples of the evergreen that I planted. Yes, there's some blooming on it, but that's not that exciting, and that's not why I planted it. But the variegated white and green striping, it was something pretty to look at all winter long. And I really grew to appreciate this. I would have never in a million years planted this plant, nor would I have put it here, because this bed tends to be a big focal bed for us. This is what we look at when we sit in our little shade house outside. But I love it. I love looking at it. It's I think this is a variety of flax. The name's escaping me right at hand, but I just love it. And then I planted African daisy here that's blooming beautifully. And I've got another lamb's ear on this side that's really done and come back from the winter beautifully. And then I've got a plumbago, which is that pretty like periwinkle blue. And then behind it I have a salvia, a purple salvia, and a rose. And then I've got a dwarf Meyer lemon citrus. So the colors here are all really super pleasing to me. I do have some bulbs here that they've come up. The greens have, but the bulbs themselves haven't yet shown any signs of flowering. So I don't know if I just planted them too late. Knowing me, that's probably what happened. And then I'm just at the tail end of this beautiful tulip display. They're just about done. Aren't they beautiful? What's funny is this little yellow one snuck in there. I didn't plant yellow, but here they are. Tulips, I think, are hard to get consistent colors all the time. I bet when they pack and they pull them, it must be really hard. Look at that pretty one. Yeah, so my tulips are beautiful, and I have another one over here. This one's got a beautiful, I'm sorry about my shadow there. Aren't these pretty? I just love them. I love how fluffy they are. In this bed, I have my Royal Jubilee David Austin roses. These were phenomenal last year. I was so in love with these plants. I couldn't believe it. And I have a salvia planted in between because I wanted to hide the back of our fountain here. It might honestly be too big, but I just chop it down every once in a while and it regrows, and that seems to do the trick. But these golden jubilees, or royal jubilees, are those big old-fashioned cabbage roses. I mean, you could hold them in your hand. They were so big. And I just love them. Now, last year I planted at the base of here. I did Proven Rinners, Supertunias. They did okay. They didn't do great. This is a weird bed. It only gets sun until about 1 or 2, and then it's in shade, and not a lot of plants like that. So I may just leave this bare this year and just appreciate the roses and let them be the star of the show, which, let's face it, they should be because they're so stunning. Then if I move over to this side yard, I have my green glow azalea and my other azalea here just coming into their prime. I love the green glow azaleas. These do phenomenal in azaleas just do great. They're so, oh, there's a big branch in here. I love this soft green color that they offer. They're super happy under here. This is a tulip magnolia. It's done blooming now. Now the leaves are just flushing in. I'm a little worried about it, to be honest. Just seems like it hasn't been as healthy as it has been in recent years. I'm just a little worried. I'm thinking about calling in an arborist to help me just make sure, because if I lost this, I would be so sad. But I just love the feel under here of the mottled trunk, this multi-branched trunk with the mottled colors on it, with the green glow and that fuchsia red underneath, and I've got some Santa Barbara daisy. I just love this view. Now tucked in the back I have another angel's trumpet there. We'll see how that one does. I think it might get too much shade. I'm finding those things are super easy to grow and cultivate from from a stick when you prune them. So if anybody wants an angel's trumpet, let me know. I got those from someone who was pruning theirs. If I go on the outside of my bed, I've got more yarrow. Look at this. Okay, let this be a warning to you. Yarrow is incredibly prolific. It just goes crazy. I've got some salvia and some gaura that are just coming back. But look at this pretty little vista here. My snow in summer is just popping. My status, that has been blooming year-round. That's a great year-round interest color for you. I have a ceanothus in the back, which I honestly had expected it to be blooming now because all the other ones are out in the, the ones that are planted out in the open spaces behind our house. But so far, I don't see any sign of blooming on them. My Daphne just finishing up. If you don't have a Daphne, this is a Daphne odora. It smells heavenly. It's easy to grow. It just turns into this big, beautiful bush, and it's covered with blooms starting in about January or so. It's a really reliable bloomer. And then I've got some verbena just popping out, some campanula, and then here's one of my geums. This is the third one to bloom. I'll show you the other ones. If you haven't planted geums in your yard, I would highly, highly, highly recommend it. I just think they're so pretty and they're so prolific and they just go and go and go. They couldn't be easier. So I really love that. I have an apple blossom rose here that is looking a little like it's coming back. I pruned it pretty hard this year, so hopefully it'll start showing up with some blooms here pretty soon. We've had a coolish spring. This bed used to be gorgeous. This is my hosta bed under here, and when we switched to drip last year, they suffered. They really suffered. In our hot climate, they just were not a fan. So I've got a few new ones to add. I've got to tinker with the water here. You can see they're starting to come up here. Here's some leaves there, but there should be way more in here. I mean, there should be like lines and lines of them everywhere. So I'm hoping they make it back. I'll be sad if they don't. Some coral bells, which give a beautiful, that chartreuse lime I just love, and they're year-round. They give you some beautiful year-round color, so those are a great addition. And then this has just fleshed out and is looking beautiful, and I love it. We have this borrowed landscape of a Japanese maple from our neighbor's tree, and I just love these two together. This side of the bed is my nemesis, because we have these two huge trees of our neighbors, and these guys just suck up all the water. I'm really struggling with growing anything here reliably. They just seem to suffer so. So I've got some winter begonia, some foxglove, some abulton, flowering maple, and brunnera, and I just put this lemon cypress in. Everything just always is thirsty, and I don't know, just they don't seem to be all that happy. So I'll continue to work this side, but it continues to perplex me. And then here's my spring bed that's just at the tail end. My lupins are finishing up. My hellebores are finishing up. My oriental poppies, probably just a few more blooms. My ranunculus, you'll just see some color. I've got some azaleas in the back here. They're just finishing up. Got some beautiful blooms over the winter. And then I have a rhododendron in the back that is really stunted. It's not really doing all that much. But this is a beautiful, I planted all this on Super Bowl Sunday, or the day before Super Bowl Sunday. And this is, you know, where they're at. They're just starting to peter out now, but that's okay. And then I have my little herb garden with my lettuce, some peppers, some parsley, cilantro, oregano, and basil, and mint. So those are my little herb garden there. And then if I go to the inner bed, I've got my Lady Emma Hamilton rose. This is just one of my favorite roses. I love this one because look at the leaves. Unlike the Royal Jubilee, which is a true bright green, everything's green on it, this has got the veining of the reddy, purpley veining. I just think it's so pretty. It just gives you just some additional color and texture. And then it blooms an absolutely gorgeous apricot. The only drawback to Lady Emma Hamilton was David Austin they've retired her, and she doesn't do all that great in our zone 9B, our heat zone 9. It's too hot for the blossoms, and so if she blooms and we have a cool spring, it's absolutely gorgeous. But as the weather warms up and we hit our triple digits, her gorgeous apricot quickly fades out in a matter of hours to kind of an ugly fadedy pink color. It's not that attractive. So while I love this bed, starting now when I'll get that first flush, I don't love it as it gets on. So I tend to just chop off all the flowers on a daily basis. And also in this bed, I've got some aster, which bloom all winter long. Fabulous. This is Aster fricari. Fabulous addition for a winter interest. And then, of course, bearded irises, they bloom starting in mid-winter, and you just get a beautiful purple pop here. So I'm super happy with that. And then behind it, you see I've got some more winter interest color of this flax. Again, it's not something that I ever would have planted, but it gives me something beautiful to look at all year round. So that's a great addition for some structure and some color. And then as things start popping in, I've got more status, some geranium as they start blooming now. My salvia is coming back. My penstemon is coming back. As those things, Gara, as those things start to fill in, my winter interest will die down and my spring summer interest will take over. I have a cousin acacia here, and I have another one on the other side. It's not doing that great, unfortunately, so I have to sort of maybe do some diagnosing. I think it maybe got too much water, if that's possible. I do know that my blue fescue did get too much water. We had a problem with a leak over on this side of the bed, and so we got some leaks. So these died. They were trying to make a comeback. If you can see, they're trying to make a comeback, but I may just dig them out and replace them with a new one. And then I've got my Gara and my Veronica, I'm hoping makes a comeback here, though it does not look good. I have a dead stick there, so we'll see. And then I've got a fountain grass there that, I don't know, it's not looking very healthy either. So we'll see. But my convolvulus is coming back. I've got some blooms on that. I've never seen it bloom because I just planted it last year, so I'm excited about that. I've got a salvia. Now this is so interesting. I mean, I cut this salvia back the same time that I cut that salvia back, and look at the size difference. This one is just not there. I don't think it gets as much sun as the other side. So some struggling in this whole section in here, and I'm not sure why. I've got a geranium, dead nettle, and then here's the other acacia. And look, it looks so much better than the other one. So I got to pop my moisture reader in there and see if maybe that's the problem. Too much water, not enough water, we'll see. And then another one for balance. This is the same as the other side. A little bit of balance of the yard in the same colors. And over here I've got the blue fescue, who's done really well. I've got some ice plant, and then a geranium that I thought was dead. It's making its way back, a hardy geranium. So I don't know, I might need to move something here. These are campanula. I just picked those up at Trader Joe's and I loved them. So I put 3 of them in here, and hopefully they'll get me some beautiful color. Here's some more GM. Look at the colors on these guys. Just gorgeous, just beautiful. Look at that. These are the Rose Tempo GMs, and you spell Geum. Look at how beautiful those are. Those have bloomed continuously since about January. Hardy geranium there. And then look, in our zone, we get some annuals that overwinter. Those are my fan flowers. They're an annual in many places, but for me, they lasted through the winter, and they're going to come back. I'm really happy about that. And then I've got my buddleia just flushing back. Oh, there's my Black Panther kitty. Salvia, and another one of the campanula with snow in the summer. So as those grow together, won't that be pretty? Because right now you get that effect with the snow in summer and this hardy geranium right there. And then right next to it is another variety of GM called Pretty Coat Peach. I am in love with this flower. Guys, look at this. I mean, it's been blooming now for about a month. It just goes and goes and goes and goes with no deadheading. So I'm just blown away by how beautiful that is. I have my daffodils in the pot here. I do that because when they're done blooming, the tulips also, I'm just going to move the pots out of the way, and I won't have to look at the spent leaves, because it's really important for bulbs that you leave the leaves, because as they die back, they'll re-energize the bulb and make the bulb nice and healthy for another bloom next year. So I'll let them do that process in my side yard, so I don't have to look at dead bulbs. Some people, don't mind it. I don't care for it. I have my row of salvia, white blooming salvia here, beautiful, and I just added here 4 penstemon to replace the ones that died last year. I have a peony coming up, a little too close to that geranium. Remember when I talked about how it's so easy to overcrowd things? Well, that geranium is a perfect example. I didn't realize it was going to get that big. And so I planted that peony too close, so I'll have to move it. But peonies hate to be moved, so I'll have to wait and do that next fall. And then I've got some more beautiful daffodils. Look at this pretty one. Oh, look at this silly cat. Do you see this? This is my Gump Kitty, we call her. She's doesn't have a lot of brain cells. Look at that pretty peach flower. And then look at these. These are gorgeous. I think these are the La Belle Epoque. I learned about these from Laura on Garden Answer. They're such an interesting color. I just love them. Here's another section where, look at that, my yarrow has completely taken over. There's one lone African daisy trying to survive. I've got to do it. But look how pretty they are. I mean, they're this little pretty pink purple flower, but they are taking over, so I've got to get in there and take them out. And then I've got this geranium that I think I'm going to take out because I don't like how woody it's gotten. It was a gift from my mom, and I love it. It's got a pretty pink flower, but I don't like how it's so woody right here. So maybe I'll try and do something about it. And then here's my variegated gardenia. And then here's another angle of that beautiful hardy geranium there. And then new this year, I planted this Arctic Babe dwarf nectarine. It's a baby, so I don't have a lot of expectations for fruit this year, but there is quite a few flowers on here. So fingers crossed that the pollinators found it and that I get at least a couple. I would be really excited. Here's my other convolvulus, and this one's blooming. Look at that pretty white flower with a pretty yellow center and that silvery green foliage partnered with this rose tempo geum. Just beautiful. I love this combination. So as this fills in, these fan flowers will get, big blobs of beautiful purple, and it should fill in. And then I've got a pittosporum up here that was engulfed by the Proven Winners Jazzberry Supertunia. Completely engulfed, and so I'm not going to plant those again, even though I loved them, but they just took over and half killed this guy. And I would like some of this green for winter's interest, so I'm going to try and get that back into shape. And so yeah, that is what's blooming in my backyard. I thought I would take you to go check out my angel's trumpet, and so you can see what it looks like when you overwinter. So hang tight, let's go look at those. Okay, so here we are in my side yard. You guys may remember this is my orphan garden. I think I'm gonna do some changes to this year. I think I'm gonna take out this bed because it really isn't a practical bed. It doesn't get a lot of sun. It gets mostly shade, though peppers do really well here, but it's really hard to reach the center to pick peppers. So I think what I'm going to do is take out this whole bed, put some more rock down, and I'm going to get 3 of those tall Vigo beds. I saw them on Janie's Dig Plant Water Repeat channel, and I think I'll put 3 of those, line those up here, and use those. I think those will be just more practical. But then here's my $139 greenhouse that I bought off Amazon. It's made of I don't know, plastic of some sort, reinforced plastic. Let me tell you guys, it does the job. And what I did is I have grow lights up here and a fan, and I just put my angel's trumpets in here. So look at these guys. This one is I got to move it out here pretty soon because it's touching here. But I have my angel's trumpet. I wish I could show you. They were blooming all winter long. The last blossom just fell off yesterday. So I don't have a blossom to show you. They're so pretty. I have struggled with insects in here. So you can see I've got a spider mite problem, but I've had a spider mite problem with them this whole time. So I've just got to get them out, keep them watered. You can wash off spider mites. I might have to do some insecticidal soap, But I also have something chomping on here because you can see the leaves. I'll have holes in them. I found caterpillars on here. I try to, come in here and turn over these leaves and look for those caterpillars from time to time, and I toss them out. But I just fertilized everything, so hopefully they'll make a rebound once they come out of here. And then I bought some tomatoes at the nursery, and so I just keep them in here because I haven't had a chance to plant them yet. But they've been extremely happy in here. I mean, these were all sticks that I started from someone who was pruning their plant. So pretty impressive. And while this isn't a perfect greenhouse by any means, it absolutely did the job. I kept these were super happy, and they were blooming their little buns off, especially this one. This one was really happy. And I'll just take it down and I'll get this space back, and then I can move my pots over here. So it just, it worked for me. And then I have in this side my citrus. So I've got a blood orange, there's even one in there. I've got a tangerine variety and a tangelo variety. And then I just added this to the family. This is a sumo mandarin. And then for Christmas, my mom got me this climbing rose. This was where my fig was, but I pulled the fig out because our neighbors have one. And I put this one in. This is an earth angel. And I had this built last year, I think, or maybe the year before. And I have my climbing roses on that side, and then I've got my clematis woven in here. So what I'm hoping is that as that grows up, I can train it and I can fill in here, because this gets nice sun pretty much all day long, and I can train it to come up here. And the climbing rose that I have on there now is like a green, a lime green that changes to pink with maturity of the blossom. And then this earth angel is a nice pale pink, so that will look beautiful here. And then my clematis, I have purple, 2 varieties of purple and a variety of white, so that should be beautiful. And if I go out our gate, and you can see the buds, you can see all of the buds are just starting. I did hopefully a good job. Oh, and there's my first clematis bud I can see there. But roses do really well here because it's so hot and dry. We don't get a lot of black spot. And then I have more Fort Bragg hydrangeas here, which I have to come back out and do some grooming and pruning off of the dead tips and the last year's spent blossoms. But I didn't want to do that until I saw where the new growth was happening. And then this is all poised to pop, so it'll be another beautiful. Oh, I see a bunch of clematis buds up there. Oh, I'm so excited. And a bunch of rose buds. So oh, look at that big one. That one's can you see it up there? That one's about to pop. Oh, so exciting. See, I love spring. This is my favorite time of year. It just is. It's just the time where all the anticipation, you can see all the buds all over the citrus. Now, citrus for me anyway, I don't know if it's just this variety or if it's all varieties, but they're every other year producers. So one year I'll get more than I could possibly eat, actually donate to the food bank. And then another year it might be, pretty quiet. So this was a quiet year that we just went through. So I'm excited about seeing all these buds, and hopefully that will give me a good production. That is my tour. I'll try to get in the sun a little bit, or out of the sun a little bit. That is my garden tour for April, early April, Zone 9B for a cold hardiness, and Sunset Zone 9 for a heat tolerance, where we have, really a long growing season. It's beautiful conditions. Our soil, a little clay-esque, so we do a lot of amending, but California just is a beautiful place to grow because we don't have a lot of the extreme weather that other parts of the country does. We don't get snow, we don't get hard freezes generally, sometimes frost, but that's, a couple times in December. It's nothing usually that bad. So it's been, a great place to learn how to garden and make a beautiful place for me and my family to hang out. So I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. I enjoy having this documentation of how things look and how they're growing, and stopping to enjoy and appreciate what's in my garden as opposed to only seeing what has to be done. Gardeners, we tend to always focus on what needs to be done, and I appreciate the opportunity to just stop and soak in the beauty that is happening right now. So I hope you have a wonderful day and that you get to go out and soak in the beauty of your garden today.